Hello, my lovely friends. Today, I bring you something truly special. So listen closely, because this story could transform how you think, speak, and feel about the English language. Let's talk about a man whose understanding of the human heart remains unmatched, the greatest psychologist the world has ever known. You've likely heard of Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, and Othello. These are not just plays, they are reflections of our deepest emotions: love, ambition, betrayal, power. Shakespeare captured all that it means to be human in his words. His influence on the English language is so profound that many of the words, phrases, and ideas we use today were born from his genius. But how did William Shakespeare, who wasn't born into wealth or privilege, who never attended a grand university, become the most celebrated writer in history? This is a story for anyone learning English, struggling with words, or searching for self-expression. Because Shakespeare started out just like any one of us, an ordinary boy with an extraordinary dream. This is a tale of struggle, passion, and unstoppable creativity. Let's rewind to April 1564 in a small English town called Stratford-upon-Avon. On a chilly spring day, a baby named William Shakespeare was born to John and Mary Shakespeare. His father was a glove maker, respected and hardworking. His mother came from a prosperous farming family. William was the third of 8 children, and the house was always lively. But young William was different, deeply curious, always listening and observing. He didn't know it yet, but this attentiveness would one day shape the most powerful plays ever written. Back then, there were no phones, no internet. People found joy in stories. Traveling actors performed in the streets, and William watched in awe. He loved old legends, folk tales, and heroic epics, each one fueling his imagination. At age 7, he started school in a small building with wooden benches and strict discipline. He studied Latin, history, and literature, diving into the great works of ancient Rome and Greece. But he wasn't only academic. He loved nature, running through fields, watching the river, and playing with friends. Still, inside him grew a hunger for words and meaning. Then hardship struck. His father's business fell into trouble, and the family faced financial struggles, even struggling to afford food at times. William saw the pain in his parents' eyes. But rather than give in to despair, he soaked in every experience and emotion, unknowingly preparing for the themes he'd explore in his future plays. Even as a child, he had a gift for language. He made up rhymes, told stories, and entertained others. Yet no one in Stratford could have imagined this boy would one day write the world's most famous plays. By 14, William had read countless books and seen many performances. But life remained hard. His father's debts grew, and the family's social standing declined. Still, William didn't lose hope. He became more thoughtful and creative. At 18, he fell in love. Her name was Anne Hathaway, a wise and independent woman 8 years his senior. Their relationship was unconventional for the time. When Anne became pregnant before marriage, social pressure forced them to wed quickly. Just months later, their daughter Susanna was born, followed by twins Hamnet and Judith 2 years later. By 21, Shakespeare was a husband and father of 3, with no stable job and no clear path. But he had one thing: a fire within, a passion for storytelling. Between 1585 and 1592, Shakespeare disappeared from historical records. These are known as his lost years. Some believe he worked as a tutor. Others say he joined a traveling theater company, or perhaps even ran into legal trouble. Whatever the truth, by 1592, he emerged in London. No longer just a country boy, but a man ready to take on the world. London was alive with creativity, especially in theater. With no money or connections, Shakespeare began acting in small companies. He studied people, their speech, movements, emotions, and soon started writing his own plays. They were simple at first, aimed at making people laugh, but he soon realized his words could do much more. They could touch hearts and challenge minds. By 1592, he was gaining recognition. Not everyone welcomed his rise. A rival playwright mocked him as an upstart crow. But Shakespeare didn't stop. He worked harder, wrote more, and slowly won over audiences and actors alike. Then, disaster struck. The plague closed all theaters in 1593. Instead of giving up, Shakespeare pivoted to poetry, writing Venus and Adonis and The Rape of Lucrece. These works brought him fame and even impressed Queen Elizabeth I. By 1594, theaters reopened, and Shakespeare joined a prominent acting company, the Lord Chamberlain's Men. He wasn't just writing, he was performing too. His plays explored every human emotion: love in Romeo and Juliet, ambition in Macbeth, madness in Hamlet, jealousy in Othello. By the late 1590s, he was England's most famous playwright. In 1599, Shakespeare and his company built their own theater, the legendary Globe Theatre. This was his sanctuary, where his masterpieces came to life before thousands of eager spectators. As his fame grew, so did his wealth. He owned shares in the Globe, earned from published works, and enjoyed royal favor. He bought properties, including a grand home back in Stratford. Unlike most writers of his time, Shakespeare was both artist and entrepreneur. In 1603, a new era began. Queen Elizabeth I died, and King James I took the throne. Fortunately, he adored Shakespeare's work. The king even renamed his company the King's Men, giving them royal status, an unprecedented honor. Between 1603 and 1611, Shakespeare wrote his most profound works: King Lear, The Tempest, Macbeth. These were no longer just plays, they were meditations on life, aging, and the soul. His characters became more complex, his messages deeper. Fame and fortune hadn't dulled him, they had matured him. By 1611, he had achieved all he had ever dreamed of. In 1613, he retired, returning to Stratford. There, he lived quietly with his family, walking through gardens, reading, reflecting, and mentoring young writers. Even in retirement, his mind overflowed with poetry. In 1616, after attending a dinner with friends, he fell ill. Within days, he passed away at 52. The town of Stratford went silent as its most famous son was laid to rest in Holy Trinity Church. He left behind no golden tombs, just a humble grave with his own poetic epitaph warning against disturbing his rest. But Shakespeare was far from gone. His words lived on, his plays continued to be performed, his ideas shaped generations. Centuries later, his work is studied, quoted, and celebrated across the globe. Phrases like "to be or not to be," "all the world's a stage," "a rose by any other name," these are echoes of his voice, reminders of his genius. He wrote not just for kings and queens, but for all of us, for the dreamers, the heartbroken, the seekers of truth. If Shakespeare were alive today, he would tell you, dream big. Tell your story. Believe in yourself. He began with nothing. No wealth, no fame, no privilege. Just a burning desire to create. And that changed the world. Now it's your turn. You have a voice. You have a story. You matter. Don't let fear or doubt silence you. You are stronger than you know. And maybe, just maybe, you are the next great storyteller. So chase your dream. Start today. Work hard. Keep going. And one day, the world may remember your name just as it remembers his.